I want to talk about something that is bankrupting startups, wasting a lot of precious time and energy, and that's I feel is just wrong. Um, so let me back up for a second. Um, First, we're going to be talking about your target customer, and that's a huge topic that can make you or break you as a startup, right? So uh, let's just look at an established company with an established product. They know exactly who their target customer is. They know the demographic. They know the psychographic, and it's easy for them to target their um, you know, most attractive customer. They know who's willing to pay the most, who has the highest profit margins, all that. As a startup, for the most part, we have no clue. And to even guess is is dangerous. To even assume who your target customer is just like suicide for your startup company. And the reason for that is um, buyers are irrational. Customers are very irrational. You might be very surprised after doing some split testing, some tests in the market. You might talk to a customer on the phone who is so excited about your product and they think it's great and this and that, but yet they're not willing to pay for it. So there's all this data that kind of conflicts, and you'll be spinning your tires and just wasting a ton of money if you just build a product and randomly pick a market and go for it. So, uh, quick story. 7 years ago, I started a company called TextHub.com. It does text message marketing for businesses. That's pretty vague, right? That's pretty general. Well, we had a really hard time choosing who our target customer is and focusing on a certain market. Um, so, like just as an example, there were other text message marketing companies that they started and they decided that they're going to be the text message marketing and communication provider for churches. They're gonna go 100% in that niche and just conquer it and do really great things, right? Well, that was a huge mistake on their part because what they found out the hard way is that the nonprofit world, specifically churches, uh, are not willing to pay for a lot of money for for software and for tools, and there's a lot of red tape, and so they didn't do very well. And then, uh, yeah, so moving right along, um, your target customer or target market is absolutely critical, but you you don't define that. You have you have no idea. You're on this like treasure hunt trying to find that based on data, not based on just, some research online and there's a lot of money in XYZ industry and you think it'd be great to just, go after that market. Okay, that's just a recipe for disaster. Now, you depending if I mean, depending on your industry, or I'm sorry, not your industry, depending on your startup, depending on what you offer and what you do, you might not be able to afford doing a shotgun blast like what we did. But if you can afford it, if you could get some PR, if you can get 100 users, 1,000 users really quickly, what you do is you look at the top 5% and or even the top 1%. You study those people and you try to figure out if there's a correlation there, right? You look at their demographic, their psychographic, what they do for a living, all that kind of stuff. You might look at that data and say, wow, most of these people are real estate agents, so we should be focusing on real estate agents, right? So that's the correct way to do it. If I mean, if you can afford it, if it's um, if it's applicable to your startup, do the shotgun blast. Try to do the, well, not necessarily freemium because there's underlying problems there, but get as many users on it, get as many data points as possible, learn from their behavior, learn who's willing to pay for it and who's not. That's the way to find out your target market. So, we were just very indecisive with TextHub from the very beginning. We're like, well, do we go after restaurants? Do we go after bars, churches, car dealerships? Who knows? But then we started getting more and more customers, and we started to see that there is a certain type of customer that use the system more and more, and that allowed us to focus on that target industry more and more, and so really good things started to happen. So another perfect example is Call on the Go. So Call on the Go is a sales tool, right? And how broad is that? How generic is that? It's extremely broad. So the first thing that angels and venture capitalists and advisors and all these gurus, the first thing they ask us is, who is our target customer? Well, in due time, we will know exactly who our target customer is, because we are running experiments and we are looking at the user's behavior, looking at their data to see who makes the most phone calls, because that's in direct correlation with who gets the most value out of it, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into that, but that's how you find your target customer. You do a shotgun blast if you can. In our case, I mean, we have an iOS app, we have an Android app, and we have a web application, and they're all married together for Call on the Go. So imagine all that traffic that we get, right? We get people that discover us online in both those app stores, and so we've had a lot of users all over the world, and that picture is getting more and more clear each and every day, which it makes me way more comfortable letting the world decide, okay, who actually wants your product the most and who wants to pay for it the most. That's really the question. The question right off the bat is like, what industry are you focusing on? That I was at I was at a demo day a couple weeks ago, and I was listening to this pitch, and they went through a top accelerator program and all this, and they're going through their pitch, and they said, well, we're gonna focus on this target market because there's a lot of money in it, and they had a few other reasons. And it's like, an educated guess is still a guess. And I mean, do you really want to gamble the life of your company like that? Do you really want to just gamble your life like that? I certainly don't. I'm not willing to. At the end of the day, I will let the concrete facts be the answer. And so the next time you have a meeting with someone and you have a novel idea, a novel product, you just don't know who could use your product at first, who the top target is. And maybe your product is like a Facebook. Well, at first Facebook did have a target market, and then it expands. That's fine. If you have a very general idea, like a new email client or a new phone operating system that everybody can use, that's fine. But that's 5-10 years down the road. You need to figure out who your early adopters are and then define your target customer that way, and then your target customer will expand when you conquer those markets. So I know this is a much different conversation than what you're probably used to having with startup advisors and startup people. But I just feel like there's too many startups that right out of the gate they're really clueless, other than doing some research online, and they're just clueless who their target customer is, and they just focus on an industry and bankrupt their company. When heck, if they just focus on the right industry, that startup could have exploded in growth. So would love to hear your thoughts. Hope this helped.